Do they still give people stamps when they go clubbing?
I don't know.
It's been a long time since I've been clubbing, so I wouldn't have any idea.
I don't think they do now, but you remember that would be one way to wake up in the morning. You'd be like, and you look at your arm like,
I think there's 6 of them there. I was like, oh my God.
I've been in radio for...
Don't say 25 years. That makes you look old.
No, I know. Well,
lie a little bit. Still like 6.
Okay, 6. Let's say. Well, I guess it's like you love your cars. You wouldn't go and pour vegetable oil into the tank of them.
Oh, if he's gonna go fast, I fucking would. Does everybody call you Matt or Maddie?
I get a bit of both because it's Stav, Abby, and Matt.
Yes.
But then all my social media is Maddie. So
what do you prefer?
Anything but arsehole.
And I'm sure you've been called arsehole as well.
Many times before. Maddie's fine. You can go with Maddie. Yeah.
Maddie.
Yeah.
You know, do you think in 1, 2, or 5 years there's gonna be AI version of Maddie doing your work?
Not of me, because I think it'll come. That'll be a licensing thing. But
yes, but technology-wise,
yeah, well, there already is. So there was a radio station in Sydney who already has tested out AI with like a workday announcer.
Yes,
it's very early stages, and they got caught out doing that. They didn't tell anyone that they were doing it.
Right.
And so that's on. And the other thing is you can see it online now. Excuse me. There is already AI, mainly in the space of girls, like,
yes,
you know, those bikini models and stuff like
yes,
that. There's a lot of AI-generated influencers that way,
yes,
who are already, like, they've got millions of followers because they're just guys following along, not even realizing that it's not a real person.
Yeah. Well, guys could be stupid.
Exactly.
Anything.
Yeah.
I was talking to Scotty, head videographer, and I think I played that video for Scotty last week. Somebody sent me a video of me talking.
As AI.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, you showed it to me.
Yeah, I showed it to you. Yeah. Me talking, and I shit myself.
Yeah.
It's me.
Correct. Yeah.
It's me somewhere in fucking I have no idea. Somewhere where I've never been. It's me. It's my body, my head. And where I'm talking, I think either I was fucking high, or whatever it is. I end up somewhere and I was speaking, and somebody sent me that recording of actually me speaking.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. Yeah, me.
See,
which scares the shit out of me.
But this is where I think it's going to be an issue. Is you worry that you go that well, it's AI, so people can have the opinion that you've said something that you didn't. But will it also go so far that there'll be so much of it that if someone does do something or say something, they can go, no, that's not actually me. That was AI.
But it's
generated.
actually me.
Yeah, but if it was you can go, that wasn't me. Someone's made that.
Well, this me version of me, it's me. It's like, I can't tell you that it's not me.
Yeah.
Like if you watch that, you'll be like 100% this is you, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, the reason why I get nervous because somebody can create a profile of Emil and just say, you know, like other day somebody created a TikTok profile of me.
Yeah.
And they were sending people, you know, I invest money in crypto and I don't invest money in crypto, full stop. And imagine if they actually send them a video of me saying, hey, Matty, I think you should put $500 or $5,000 into this coin, and it's going to double your money. And you know, and if you have credibility in life, people are like, you know what, Emil actually sent me a real video. Like, how far is this going to go?
And that's what they're going to have to try really hard to police. But who knows? It's like anything that's been on the internet, though. You think about the music industry, right? When Napster and all those downloading things started.
That was really cool back in the day.
It was, and we all did it.
Because we went from the CDs to be able to download anything. It was like, holy shit.
And we all did it, right? Everything I had was, and it was like movies, video clips, everything. But there was no laws around it. Yes. And it finally caught up, and then Napster got shut down and all that kind of stuff. But it ruined the music industry and completely changed it. Now we have Spotify. So it's going to be like anything. It'll just change the way everything goes. Then laws will catch up.
Yes.
Then it will take off. You see it in social media.
Yes,
you know, like Facebook, Instagram and everything have all this power, but who are they governed by?
Nobody.
But radio and television, we're all governed by our government saying what we can and can't say.
Yes.
And that hasn't caught up yet either.
Yes, true.
So,
but the interesting, I feel like the AI is just pushing things to another level too fast.
way too fast.
It feels like, I mean, I had a meeting this morning with my staff and I said to them, how often do you guys use ChatGPT? I am obsessed.
Yeah.
I feel like I have my advisory board there. I feel like I'm making myself look smarter. Decisions I want to make. Giselle and I, we had lunch on Saturday, and there was 10 steaks. Yeah. And none of them were I fillet. And she only likes I fillet because there's zero fat in it. Yeah. While me, I like my steak with like marbling fat. Give me the fattest part of freaking cow's ass, and I'll eat it, right?
Yeah.
And there was no I fillet. And she said, which one's got less fat? I was like, how the F do I know? Which one's got, to me, they will look rich. So anyway, took a photo, I took a picture of the menu and put a ChatGPT. Can you tell me which steak's got, which one is the most lean? And then broke it down to, know, how much fat is in it, blah, blah. And by order, I was like, okay, love, this is good steak for you. And then which wine does it match with? It is crazy. What entree are good for me? What's too heavy? It's just unbelievable. So I'm obsessed with it in a good way.
See, I think that's the biggest thing. You're not going to stop it. Don't fight it. I think the smartest people will actually just use it to their benefit and use it as much as they can. And you saw that there. What you essentially did is you replaced the job of the waiter.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
In that, you know what I mean? Because that would be what the waiter should be trained up on.
Yes.
But now you just chat GPT it and boom.
Well, the interesting thing is I have one of my new staff. She sends a report what she has done during the day to one of my managers.
Yeah.
And he sent me that, and I just took that screenshot, put it in my ChatGPT, and ChatGPT structured her day. How can she be more efficient by doing it by this structure or that? So that way, she's getting more value per second during the day. So there's a lot of good ways of actually using it. But I was curious, people like yourself, you've been on radio for some time now. And I was like, you know what, is it going to be a day where, all three of you can just sleep in and there's a Mary already in the radio being you and you guys are playing chess at home?
I think so. There'll be a version of it. But what I think is different about anything, and you'll notice even what you do here with this podcast, the one thing you can't replicate is proper human connection.
Yes.
So how long will it be until we feel the same about talking to a computer like it's a person and actually feel normal about that?
Maybe your son will be that person that
possibly,
in 10 years time, because he's, you said he's 11 now, but he's maybe 25.
Who goes, I'm marrying my iPhone. Because I'm in love with my iPad. But kids they love their iPads now. So God only knows.
And also, kids' attention span. Oh my God. Like I had my nephew who is also 11.
Yeah.
He can't watch a movie with me.
No. They're too long.
Giselle and I will sit, so let's watch a movie and with him, I reckon by the time I watch one movie, he'll watch 25,000 stories or reels or he just
flick.
I was like, what does that do to human brain?
Well, that's the thing. They get bored so quickly. And watching, like a movie was always an hour and a half, you know what I mean? Yes. 2 hours or whatever.
Only one that went for 3 hours was Godfather. And
and
I used to watch it, no problem, 3 hours. Other day I tried. I was like, oh man, I was being producer in my own freaking head thinking, you know what, they can cut this, they can cut that, they can be 3 hours, can be like, 1 hour and 45 minutes, like this is too long. I was like, what the fuck?
I did that in musicals. I'm like, oh, not another song. Seriously, guys.
It's too long. Wrap it up, you know what I mean? Which is interesting, the human behavior, how we going now.
But we're all like that. We're the same. Even we do it when we watch TV shows. Like episodes of TV shows are shorter now. They're 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Yes. But we get on to the next thing as well, like trends, fashion, technology. We want the next thing, the next thing.
Do you guys see, you interview a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I always say, you are as rich as the people that you meet because you're learning from musicians, politicians, business people. You meet from there to any person you can meet. So the knowledge that you're gaining by just communicating with those people and studying human behavior is just another freaking level, right?
Well, you know what I've been lucky is I've been in radio for...
Don't say 25 years. That makes you look old.
No, I know. Well,
lie a little bit. Still like 6.
Okay, 6. Let's say. Well, it would nearly be longer than 20 years. So I used to do night radio on the Gold Coast when I was 18. So I did this national show and I got to interview a lot of celebrities then because it was national. And a lot of those celebrities were brand new on the music scene. Right. So we were a show where they'd come and play their new music and we would interview them and stuff.
Yes.
And what's interesting now is those people who I was playing their new music because they were first-time artists were Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Pink.
I was like, do I still have her number, Taylor Swift?
No. See, now she's super popular and she doesn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I think that's
I don't think she would have the same number still.
No, I don't think so either. But I remember talking to her when we did an interview here in Brisbane at the Stanford Plaza in a hotel room, and she was 19. And
you were like, who the hell are you?
I'd never, like I kind of sort of knew about her, but like, that's sort of the thing I've learned a lot about is you see these people who start out. I remember when Katy Perry first came to Australia and we spoke to her, like they were just sort of starting out and normal people then sort of on their way to stardom, but now they're like the biggest stars in the world.
Yes.
And it's an interesting thing to have seen them. You're like, oh, I remember speaking to you when you could walk down the street and no one really knew who you were.
Which is interesting because you have probably met so many young, talented individuals that went from being, just starting in their career to becoming Taylor Swift of today.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, the journey, a lot of them, they may be big then, but today they don't exist.
Correct. That's exactly right. There were some big names we spoke to and you would never see them again.
I was speaking to Giselle, my beautiful wife, the other day about which people are still relevant. Like we're both 46 years old. How old are you?
37.
37.
Yeah.
I was trying to judge how old you are when you said you've been in the radio for 20 odd years. Like this fucker could be older than me.
well, I'm also a grandfather, which is...
really? I heard that. So. I was talking to Scotty, my videographer. I said, what do you know about Matty? He said, he's a grandfather. I was like, how the fuck is it possible? Then he was explaining to me. I was like, man, it's crazy. But interesting, and we were talking like which singers, are still in from back when we were young. Like, I was like, Snoop Dogg, that motherfucker is going to be singing when he's 85. He's going to be still producing some, and smoking.
It's all the herbs keeping him running.
Whatever is keeping him running, he's alive. I was like, some people are so big then, but then some people are just not irrelevant. And, they are almost like being judged like the restaurant on the last meal. If you
Correct,
Which is interesting. Us, we can be going to the same restaurant for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you go once and you have food poisoning or you don't like it or you're almost judging that restaurant, not based on the 10 years, based on that last moment that you had there. I was like, maybe, musicians are in the same.
I think they are. And the problem they've also got, much like probably restaurants, there's always something else. Yes. There's always another option. Always coming through,
Yes.
And
how do you tailor for every generation?
Correct.
Because what I was liking back then doesn't mean kids today are liking it. So they have to be involving.
Correct. Yeah. You have to be, current, but then also trying to keep your old audience.
Yes.
Bringing in new audience.
Yes.
I guess it must be for an artist when your audience gets older, if you could hold on to them, I guess they start to make more money. And then you probably have to market at them differently.
Yes.
But it also probably depends on what style of music you're making. Like you make that pure pop music, it goes out of style for a while.
Yes.
It's not always the same.
But then there are bands like U2, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
Like they put a song out every freaking 20 years.
Yeah. But you know what? A 10-year-old probably doesn't know who U2 is.
I know. I had a discussion with my nephew the other day about U2. He said, who is U2? I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Who is U2? Which
Yeah.
is interesting, how they're going to be relevant to people that are there today.
Well, even now, you notice that like where the kids get their content from is different. So the stuff that they know about.
Celebrity to them is YouTubers instead of...
Correct.
If they see Brad Pitt, and like they were like, who the hell is he? He's irrelevant.
They got no idea,
my age today. Again, going back to AI, will AI completely replace every celebrity in the future? We're just going to have the fake ones.
But it will be, yeah. There'll be but I mean, like in anything, you think about real estate, what you do, like how much of AI is going to be involved in that now with like virtual house viewings possibly down the track, or virtual agents who they can ask questions to, or who knows?
I think, and then you got education.
Yeah.
Like I feel like what you can learn in 4 years at uni, you can almost learn the same thing using ChatGPT in a week.
That's true. Yeah.
So how relevant is anything going to be?
Yeah.
What is the one thing that you absolutely love about waking up early and being on radio, besides that amazing view you have?
Yeah. I think it's that you don't really know what the day is going to hold.
Yes.
That's what I love about radio. And the difference about it is too, is it is 100, what we do anyway, is 100% live.
Yeah, you can't fuck around. You can't say, what, I stuffed up here, let me...
But you also don't know, I've been in conversations, it's a normal conversation like what we're having right here. Like you and I could hit a topic at any point in the next half an hour.
Yes.
Where we have a huge disagreement.
Yes. And that's the best part.
And exactly. And you don't know. It could go there, it could go the other way. We could be talking about one thing on radio, and then we get a caller up who tells us this like hectic story. So we just chuck everything out that we had planned and we go and talk to them.
And see, the thing is, everything we do now, we can finish this and we can say, you know what? We didn't like any of it. Let's do it again.
Correct.
You are, which means how the hell, because you're human.
Yeah.
There are times when you wake up in the morning thinking, oh, fuck, I just want to sleep in. I'm not in a mood. Or
9 times out of 10.
but you got no, when you are live, like you got to be live.
Correct.
You can't say, you know what, I'm not going to communicate to people now.
Yeah. I think if you have a bit of that, you've got to show that to people because that's natural, right?
Yes.
You got to show that you're human, but you've also got to respect what it is that you're doing. At the end of the day, we get paid pretty well to go and sit in a room, have a laugh and talk shit.
Yes.
And we look out the window of
can
our
I have a job there?
office. If I had enough power, I'd give you one, but I don't.
You know what? And I have to be honest, in your freaking view in your office, it's amazing as well.
It's so good.
It's got a good feel.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you the other day, I remember your radio station, B105, being a kilometer away from where you used to be, and I don't think you had as good views.
No, we didn't. The studio was in the middle of the office, so we had no view.
Right.
But that's to my point. Like we just have a good time. We're there to have a good time. There's people, we see trucks full of bricks coming down the highway, and I think those guys, they're going to work hard today.
Yes.
Like they've got a big day ahead of them, and they're getting up.
And that's a good way.
That's
a good way of looking at it, because a lot of people complain about the life that they're living today, thinking, hey, you could be freaking middle of Bangladesh now, or some other country in the middle of the war zone, and not being able to eat today, and you whinging about your job, and you're sitting on your ass looking at amazing view and talking on radio.
Correct. And people get really wrapped up, and it's like they go, oh, it must be hard to get up early. I'm like, it is. Like,
but that's life.
I'm tired, but I have a job. I can pay my mortgage. My kids are eating. Like, you know what I mean? It's not. It's actually,
and you just structure your day around the time that you start.
Correct. I'm lucky that I can pay my bills. I never think, I've got to go and do this, because imagine how I would feel if I was unemployed.
Were you one of those crazy persons that was actually? I was speaking to Abby, and she was telling me that she used to wake up like 3 o'clock in the morning and go for a run. Were you part of that crazy crew as well?
We did. Yes, I did it for a little bit, and then I used to go to the gym before at 3 a.m. But
you were definitely the only person there.
It was no, there was one or two other people was there at the same time.
You'd be like, "What the fuck is your issue, buddy?"
Well, this is the thing. One guy, man, I actually became good mates with him. He was a garbage truck driver, a garbologist, and he used to go to the gym, and then he'd go in the truck, and he would work. This would be the thing. He would start work at 6, and he would work till 6 p.m. and he was in the gym at 3:30 in the morning. And I was like,
that's dedication.
That's dedication. And he's got a big day of work ahead of him.
Yes.
But I wussed out and got too tired, so I don't do the gym in the morning anymore. So
you rock up at work by 5-ish?
I like to get in a bit earlier. I get in there about 4:30 ish.
Okay.
Yeah, 4:30 in the morning. Yeah.
And it's 5 days a week.
Yeah, Monday to Friday. Because I edit all of our interviews and a lot of the audio and stuff like that. I will admit I'm a bit of a control freak with stuff.
So the gentleman on your right, my left, Scotty, is going to be editing this. He's thinking to himself, I'm fucked.
Yeah, no. That's fine. That's fine.
I was like, just, Scotty, don't show him any edits. Just go live. Otherwise, he's going to chop it up and we'll be both fucked completely.
But I like to get in and do a bit of stuff. And it's good. That's actually a really good time in the morning for me to work. I find if I am in there for an hour before everyone else, I can get like 3 hours worth of stuff done before there's people around. Yes. And then I like to finish early as well because then I've got my business that I run where I make content and stuff like that. So I like to have the radio complete when I leave.
Yes.
We're still chatting and doing stuff through the day with the team, but I like to get out and then move on to my next part of the day and concentrate on that.
Because I can see that you're active, not just on radio.
Yeah.
You're heavily involved on social media. You mad.
Correct. Yeah. It's almost a full-time job on its own.
I know. And I looked at your Instagram and like, he's got fucking issues. Because you technically got 2 full-time jobs, right? You know, because, to be active on social media, you can't just say, well, you know what, I'm going to do something today and then I'll be again there in 6 months' time.
Correct.
You got to be active to keep your audience alive.
Yep. You've got to be posting at least, every day would be the goal.
Yes.
It's not really for what I make, like the sketches I make. It doesn't really work that way. So
because they take a bit of work.
Yeah. And it's also coming up with the concept. So you need concept, you got to write them, you got to film them, and I do it all. Yes. I probably should employ someone, but I haven't got around to that. But so I film it all, edit it, upload, do the lot. And then my wife and I also just started a podcast too because I didn't have enough going on in my life. So we're doing that as well. So.
Is she actually in the podcast as well herself?
It's her with her, yeah. It's called Underage Grandparents, we call it. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because you're so freaking young.
Yeah, well, I'm 37. She's a bit older than me. She's 41. But yeah, so that's sort of my next part of my day.
My wife is older than me as well, bloody cougar.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, I always like to tell...
they were smarter than us. I always say she tricked me.
No, there wasn't much tricking with my wife. I did a lot of the chasing. But I was 18 when I met her and she was 22. So I always loved to joke with her.
I was 18 when I met Giselle as well.
Were you?
But, I don't know if I should say this, I take it back. She was 18. Yeah. I was 17.
Right, okay.
But I lied. I was like, oh man, if I tell her I'm 17,
she's not going to be interested.
She's not going to be interested. So I had a strategy. I was like, I'm going to tell her I'm a year older than her. And when she falls in love, then when I tell her the truth, it'll be too fucking late. And she's going to have to go with it, right? And it worked.
Well, it did.
It worked. But 6 months later, when I told her, I was like, I'm actually 17. And she was like, oh my fucking God. You're 17.
How did you get around that then? Like, did you have a fake ID getting into bars and stuff like that? Or how did you...
I reckon, I'm 80s, 90s older than you, so we were probably going to different places.
Yeah.
I used to use my friend's ID for 2 years, from age 16 to 18.
Wow.
Which is fucked. I would show that ID to every bouncer every time I wanted to go to a nightclub, but we fucking don't look like at all. I was like, either those guys were freaking, they didn't give a shit, or they were just looking at the age, or they were just like, yeah, okay. But for 2 years, nobody stopped me once. But then I got a little bit cocky, right? We were going to this nightclub, it used to be called Caution in Paddington.
Yeah.
And actually, you know where that, actually, I was going to say, do you know where the strip club is close to your work?
No, I don't. Do we have strip clubs near my work, do we?
No. That's in a Fortitude Valley, Anyway, in Caxton Street, there's a strip club there now. Not that I ever went there, but there is, Scotty, a videographer, is like, you sure you haven't been there? I've been there.
I can see the stamps on his arm.
Do they still give people stamps when they go clubbing?
I don't know.
It's been a long time since I've been clubbing, so I wouldn't have a freaking any idea.
I don't think they do now, but you remember that would be one way to wake up in the morning. You'd be like, your eyes are 2 piss holes in the sand, and you look at your arm like...
And you got 6 of them there. I was like, oh my God.
Where
There's
have I
like
been?
6 of them. But anyway, from age 16 to 18, I was going to this nightclub called Caution.
Yeah.
And then we got to know the bouncer. And when I turned 18, I was so excited and had my 18th birthday party in the nightclub. And people had these freaking massive balloons saying number 18. And he goes to me, he said, 18, really? I was like, hey, I'm legally in here now, so there's nothing you can do about it.
Let's not talk about the rest. Well, my wife told me a story. She did the same thing. She grew up in Toowoomba. And remember, you would go...
Do they even have nightclubs in Toowoomba?
Well, I think
they'd be like all freaking country, hilly-billy
very,
shit there.
very country town. There were more pubs. There. Oh, you've got one there too, yeah. And she... remember, you would get your learners. You'd go in and you'd show your birth certificate. Yes. Then you'd do the test, and that would be it. And then they would laminate. You take a photo, and they'd laminate it. And if you lost it, all you had to do was go in and just show your birth certificate again.
Yes.
And then they would give it. So she went in, did the learner's test under her sister's name, took in the sister's birth certificate,
I reckon
and got
your
it.
wife could be in jail.
She could be. And then they already got in trouble for it.
If you ever want to do podcasts on your own, we're just reporting you. Yeah. And it's like, I'm doing this alone now. You're gone.
And then her friends went in and got them. Jeez. So took in and said, I lost my license. So 3 of them had her sister's license, right?
Right. That's smart. I wasn't that intelligent.
It was smart. Until the 3 of them decided to go to the same nightclub at the same time. And the bouncer looked at it and asked her, I think, what did she ask her? The star sign. Asked her friend what star sign she was, and she got it wrong. And then obviously realised the 3 of them were in there. And then another one of the bouncers used to go to school with her older sister. So then they got reported to the cops. They got in trouble, all of that sort of thing. But I was like... You've done this elaborate thing where you've all gone and got them.
I think they should be rewarded for that, intelligence. They were like creative to do that shit.
Yeah, but then they all went together to the same nightclub.
And that was like that movie Dumb and Dumber.
Yes, yeah.
See, but for 2 years I was using my mates, and I was like, even today we're still friends, and we definitely never look alike, And but then interesting, if. Giselle and I, we don't have any kids. Like, if I had a kid, would I let him or her go to nightclub when they're 16? What would you do with as a father?
I would try not to. I mean, I've got a son who's 23 now, and he was 16 once. And that was, what the hardest thing actually is there's so many more drugs now.
Yes.
And I mean, there's always been drugs around.
Yes.
But the drugs are different to the drugs that were around when we were growing up. And I think there's more violence now too.
Yes.
So, obviously my son went night clubbing, but my thing I'm scared about the most is my daughter.
I don't know,
his daughter's going out.
I reckon if I had a daughter, I'll freaking be in the corner of the nightclub with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
It's like the boy approaches her like, buddy,
get out.
I'm breaking your legs and I'm going to jail straight after, but it'll be worth it. I know she's safe.
But I think that's the hardest part is, you talk about, like, you look at the scariest parts in life, like with children, right? You worry about them when they're being born. You think, I hope this all goes well. And then you hope they go well when they're little.
You never stop worrying.
The problems just change. Like, they start driving. I remember when my son drove off in a car on his own, and you freak about that. They go out for the first time, and then you lay in bed the whole night, like, waiting for them to get home.
But see, you're young. You guys can go nightclubbing together.
Yeah, I don't think he thinks I'm that cool, but yeah, that was a thing that you kind of stress about. But yeah, he is fun to go to the pub with, which is good. Yeah.
But the times are different, and how do you, as a father in your case, educate kids to be still know the. I mean, think about this. I'll quite often say humans are pretty fucking stupid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, think about this. We have one life, right? Mm-hmm. And whatever you believe in or not, if God gave you life, and And humans like, you know what? I'm going to do a good job fucking it up. I'm going to use drugs. I'm going to use alcohol. I'm going to smoke. I'm going to eat unhealthy. I'm going to put so much shit in my body so I can live fucking shorter.
Yeah.
He's like, what can I do to fuck up my life? I don't want to live to 90. 50 is enough.
Yeah.
It's like, it is so what we convince ourselves at the time, it's beyond me.
Well, I guess it's like you love your cars. You wouldn't go and pour vegetable oil into the tank of them.
Oh, if he's going to go faster, I fucking would.
Okay, maybe you would.
I was like, I'll fuck it. I'll piss in my fucking tank if I know I get 10 horsepower more.
But we do. You're correct. We do. And I've thought about, it's funny you say that. Excuse me. Because I've thought.
Sorry to interrupt. On my orange Lamborghini, I was telling my wife, and I said, "Hey, I'm putting an exhaust on my car."
Yeah.
And she said, "What? Your car didn't come with an exhaust?" I was like, "Yes, it did. You know,
not the right one.
Not the right one." It was like, "Oh my god." She said, "Yeah, I'm sure you're smarter than Lamborghini who made the car. You know what car needs."
You know me, babe. Correct. I think about that with my kids. You say about, we have this life and it's only so long and then we destroy our bodies. Like when I look in my kids' eyes, they're so white, like the whites of their eyes, because I think their lack of shit that they've put in their body. Obviously, they eat lots of lollies and stuff like that. But like they haven't smoked yet. They haven't drank. They haven't done any.
They're missing out.
And of course, that will inevitably happen when they're 18. But you see it and you're like, oh, they're like, there's nothing bad that's been in their body yet.
How do you convince kid? How do you convince young adults not to be an adult and go and experience that, right? But just, when you are 18, 19, 20, you don't think the way you think at age 37. You know what I mean?
Of course. You think that's so far away. And then you blink and you go, shit, my back hurts.
When you're 18, you don't fucking think much at all. But the thing is, now I'm older. I was like, man, I love pastas, bread. I would eat bread with bread, And I love all that heavy stuff that is really making me so heavy during the day. And even took me till about 6 months ago till we moved into this home for me to wake up, for me to say, you know what? Last year there was a point in my life I felt so heavy.
Yeah. And
not physically. I'm always around 95 to 100 kilos, but I feel like I was 500 kilos. If I'm talking to you for 5 minutes, I'll be like, I'll be tired because I always believed that my brain is stronger than my body. If my body is tired, my brain will tell my body, go and fuck yourself, just fucking keep walking, keep going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, even last year, I was like, maybe I should just sell everything and not work again because I just got no more energy, I can't be fucked. And then in December, I said, you know what? I'm going to change my life. I am going to focus on my health.
Yeah.
Now, 5 days a week, I got personal trainer that comes to my home.
Yeah.
And then I don't eat shit during the day. I don't eat carbs. So I'm focused what I'm eating and I feel better now at age 46 than I did at age 37 or 25.
Do you think though, so you're very successful, you're at a great point in life. Do you think though on your way to here, a lot of what you did in business was like taking people out, drinking, you built relationships with people over drinking and stuff like that? Or is that a misconception in your world?
I have to. I'm not the right person to ask that because let's look at last 15 years. I was drunk twice.
Yeah.
Not even that. Like Giselle.
So you're not a drink. You don't drink.
No. No, I do. Two of us can go for lunch. I'll have 2 glasses of wine and I'm done.
And then that's it. Okay.
Yeah. So like Giselle, she knows me for 27, 8 years now. She's seen me drunk twice.
Right. And why is that decision? Did you don't like drinking, or you just never?
I'll put it this way: I've never seen my father drunk once.
Okay.
Ever. We're just not a big drinking family.
Yeah.
I've seen my brother drunk once when he was 16 years old.
Yeah.
I'm just not a big drinker. Full stop.
Yeah.
So I was never a big drinker, but it's not you don't have to drink to be unhealthy.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So it's not just that. You don't have to. It's not about okay. You're only unhealthy if you smoke and you drink. No, man. You just eat shit food.
Yeah, and don't sleep enough.
Yeah. Like now, I am kind of becoming obsessed with this, healthy living, because I truly believe that we can have an impact in our life. That I don't want to live to 200 years old, but whatever I'm living, if it's 80, I want to live good.
Yeah.
That good life up to whatever age it is.
See, I think the same as that. Okay, if I get to a point and I'm like 85, 90 and I can't wipe my own ass,
yeah,
I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to, and I'm not saying for anyone has to put their family in care. I'm not judging them because you've got to make tough decisions.
One of my close friends.
But I don't want to sit in a room all day looking at a wall wondering what's going to happen next.
One of my friends who's older, and he said, Emil, the day that I stop fucking having sex, I want to be dead. I said, are you fucking 78? He said, yeah, so what? I was like, fuck! I was like, I didn't realize people can do that after age fucking 60,
That's modern medicine. They can make anything happen these days.
So we might be going to 105 then.
if you've got some medicine and a bike pump, I'm pretty sure they can make it work for you.
God. But now I'm so health conscious now that I'm careful what I eat.
Yeah.
5 days a week I got personal trainer. Come 6 o'clock this morning, and then I do recovery session.
Yeah, right.
Straight away, steam room, ice bath, sauna, ice bath every day.
Wow.
And I feel. And like last year, I was in the middle of the day, I would want to have a half an hour nap in my office. And my team were taking freaking photos and posting it on social media, giving me shit. And it's like, fucking, this is a perfect boss. He's sleeping while he's working. I was like, you fired.
You like that and sneak in and draw a dick on your face or something like that.
Well, you know what? If I was in their shoes, I would probably do that. They were not that creative. Who was the most fun person you've interviewed? And the second question, who was the person you had on radio that had an impact on your life for better?
The most fun I've ever interviewed would be Jack Black.
Cool.
He would be my favorite, I think, because he was really like, whether he wanted to be or not, in the interview, he really felt like he was happy to be there.
Yes.
Like he was really excited.
Not like I'm here just for the fuck of promotion.
No. He was really fun. We had like these silly ideas. I came in with a piece of paper on it that said, "Hi, my name's Matty Acton. I'm not going to speak until you invent me a voice if I was a cartoon character." So I wrote like, "Look at me, and if I was a cartoon character, how would you voice me?" And he did the voice.
Bart Simpson.
Yeah. And he did a voice, and it was really, really fun. So he was great. He was really, really good. Who had an impact? Do you mean like celebrity-wise, people I've spoken to? Or
on radio, it doesn't have to be celebrity, not celebrity, whoever you interviewed. Because I believe meeting somebody, something that somebody can say to you can change your direction of life for good or better.
Oh, I can't really think of anyone, like any specifics, but people who I thought were really interesting. We spoke to Julian Assange when he was...
Isn't he originally from Sydney or Brisbane?
I'm not sure where he's from. Maybe
he's back in Australia. He's back in Australia now, right?
I think he's back. But we spoke to him when he was stuck in the...
England or whatever.
In the embassy. Whatever embassy. Ecuadorian embassy.
Yes.
And that was a really interesting interview to speak to him. But I wouldn't say that's like sort of changed the course of my life or anything like that.
Because you'll have an interesting conversation. Some would be like, oh my God, this is just, I didn't expect it today.
Yeah. So that was really, really interesting, hearing his story. But it's mainly the people that make me feel anything or change anything is mainly just our listeners who will ring and share stories. Like people will call us.
And some of the stories that I would hear, I was like, what the fuck?
Like, you hear stories from people who have done crazy things. Like we had one lady ring up and tell us about her dad who had slept with 3 of the sisters, had slept with her mum and her 2 aunties. So all of her cousins were actually her half siblings.
Oh, so that was just fucking one happy family. Everybody was fucking everybody. Like, what the fuck?
Crazy. It was the one guy and the three sisters.
And you guys would be on the radio looking at each other.
Yeah, we're like, what is going on? And then what was crazy about that was that we're like, wow, that's a wild story. Can't believe it. And then the girl goes, yeah, Maddie, my mum works with your mum. I was like, what? So one of the sisters.
Next thing is like, I'm actually a half sister, Maddie.
Could happen. And then you have people who tell us like their deepest stories about, we've spoken to people who've been sick or their children are dying, and they'll share their stories, and we sort of help them out and stuff. But it's the people who will we're complete strangers really,
yes,
but they feel a connection to us so deeply, which I love, that we're providing not entertainment but an escape for them, that they want to share that with us. And I think we're really quite privileged to sort of have that.
Which is interesting conversations you guys have on a daily basis. It's never the same.
No, never ever.
So maybe that's also what keeps you interested in your job too, right? It's not like,
of course, I'm
just moving boxes from here to there every single day and it's the same, and I'm getting sick of it, bored, or I'm not being challenged.
Yeah. Actually, one thing I probably was, when I worked with Kate Langbrook, who maybe from Husey and Kate, the radio show, and she's done heaps of television stuff. She gave me a piece of advice when I worked with her, which I've used from then onwards, and it's done wonders for me. And it was a quote or a saying that she's got. She's Dutch. She goes, they have a saying which is, you've already got no. Yes. So her big thing is like, if you want something, go and ask for it. And if you get no, well, it doesn't matter. You know how people don't do shit because they're like, oh, no, they'll say no, or they won't want me to do it, or I won't be allowed to, or blah, 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 blah. She's like, well, if you don't do anything, the answer's already no.
But I think we are expert at convincing ourselves into anything.
Of course. Yeah.
You don't need people to tell you can't do shit. You just convince yourself, it's too hard or it's too easy or whatever. And I think it's interesting. I always say your brain is your best friend and your biggest enemy.
Correct.
And nobody can make you happier or beat you more than you yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that as humans, we are expert at complicating things.
100%.
Life is simple, but no, let's fucking make it complicated. Let's eat shit. Yeah. Let's stress. And that goes back to, always preach about fucking one life. I was like, man, why are you stressing about something that you need to solve anyway?
Yeah.
Because if you're having a problem during the day, that thing is not going away.
No.
You can't run away from it. You might be for a day or two or three. It's still going to be waiting there like a fucking ghost on the door. So why put so much pressure on yourself on something that you have to deal with?
Yeah. No, you're right.
And but us as humans, I think we all have to train ourselves more how to be able to accept any outcome that is in front of us.
Yeah.
And because we just stress yourself. Hey, was Robbie Williams interesting for you to interview?
He was, yes. I've interviewed him a couple of times.
Because that's one concert that I went to. That was fucking epic.
Yeah, he's insane.
My two favorite concerts I ever went to was U2, maybe 13, 12, 15 years ago, can't remember. And I remember Jay-Z was the backup, not backup singer. What do you call the singer?
Oh, like the pre-show.
Pre-show. Yeah, Jay-Z was pre-show.
Wow.
Yeah, literally.
That's crazy.
I know. And I was like, man, even at that time, U2, they were always big.
Yeah, of course.
And when they came on Suncorp Stadium, there was, 50,000 people. Yeah. But when he was there was maybe, 10,000.
Yeah.
It wasn't much. I was like, interesting.
He was new on the scene.
He was could be 15 years ago in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And, but then Robbie Williams, I was like, man.
Yeah, he's good.
He's
a great interview. And he's with him, he's another one of those ones who really, you seem like he wants to be there.
Yes.
And yeah, he was a lot of fun. He has a good joke and you can mess around with him. And he's quite honest. You know what I mean? He knows his story and what.
I think everybody else knows his story that he banked half of the country he's living in, and he'll just talk proudly.
Yeah. He told a really great story about, he was on that TV show Cribs. Remember Cribs?
Yes.
So he was on that where they go through the house and da-da-da-da-da. But the house that he went through, he actually didn't own. He was just renting it for the weekend.
It'll be cheaper than freaking buying.
I can't even. It was another celebrity. He was renting it off. I can't remember who the celebrity was, but yeah, apparently they rang him and they were like, "What the hell? That's my house." So when they were going through, they didn't even move any of like the like photos and stuff like that. So they had to blur them out because it was like this whole different family, and it was just him pretending like it was his house.
But he's human as well,
of course.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing. That's what I always say with what you three do, you know, the people that you meet from all sorts of life and the stories that you meet, it's just making your life richer.
Yeah,
in knowledge,
totally. You know? You learn more. You also learn, like there's so many different types of people. You know, you get stuck in your own little worlds and your friendship groups and stuff like that. You know, we get to know heaps of people, which is really cool.
What would you say that you've been on radio for 20 years now, which you were freaking young when you started.
Yeah, very young.
How the hell even did you get a job when that young?
So
I tried to get a job in fucking McDonald's when I was 16. They didn't want to give me a job.
Yeah. Well, so when I was in high school, we had a high school radio station, just went around at lunchtime. And I did that mainly because I grew up in central Queensland where it was hot as shit and it was air conditioned. So I was like, I'll hang out in there.
And there'd be like only 4 people listening to the radio station.
Yeah. It was the kids at lunchtime. So then I did work experience at a radio station that was kind of, I guess, the sponsor of it.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, these guys, they're all getting paid to sit around here all day and do nothing, it seemed like to me at the time. So then I volunteered to work for free. So year 11 and 12, I would work for free every weekend and I learned everything I could and I begged them to put me on air.
Interesting.
And once they did, I would make an air check. So that would be like breaks of things that you'd done.
Yes.
I met the CEO of that company when I was 16 once and he gave me his email address and I think he regretted that because every Sunday after I'd worked on the weekend, I would email him every single Sunday for like a year and a half. And then just before I finished school, they were like, you have to finish school. You're too young. We want you to finish school. As soon as I finished school, he emailed all the other bosses of the radio programs and said, next job available, give it to this kid. I don't care what it is, and tell him to stop emailing me. And then bang, I got a job.
You know, you can write a book about that story alone.
Yeah.
Because at such a young age, first thing that a lot of young individuals do now, if they come for job interview, we employ over 400 people. One of the first thing they ask, how much am I getting paid?
Yeah.
So with you, like your pay is the knowledge I'm going to gain, experience I'm going to gain, so one day I can earn $1.
Yeah.
So that different in attitude, 1. 2, you were persistent enough to nag the fuck out of the guy you want to work for.
Yeah.
Till he said yes. You'd be like, you know, just I'll give you a job, just stop fucking emailing me.
Yes,
you know what I mean? So you were at that young age, you were persistent. So one, hey, I want this badly, which is completely different attitude because right now, which is sad, people get disappointed fast. Kids these days, a lot of them are focused on making money, right? It's not like I want to be in this business or in this career or whatever it is. You know what? I just want to make as much money as I can. Then when they're young, 20 years old, they might start some business that got zero passion and they fuck it up and then they get disappointed and they have a debt.
Yeah.
And at age 37, when something happens, you got a bit of a thick skin because you live a bit of life, right? But when you're age 20, you can get affected by outcome a lot more than you can get affected right now when you're so young. Yeah. You know, I quite often talk to a lot of young people. I was like, man, life is wrong. We should be born at age 95.
Yes.
And go live backwards.
Correct.
Because you know what you like, what you don't, where you want your career to be, or whatever the fuck it is, what kind of lady you want to date, or guy, or whatever. Yeah. But age 18, you're under pressure to make some life big decisions. You know what? I'm going to study law. I'm going to study medicine. How the fuck do you know you like operating on people? Or you're going to like dealing with you know, criminals if you want to study criminal law, whatever. How do you know? And how much pressure are you under at such a young age to make a life-changing decisions? Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing. And I was lucky that I learnt so much because what happened was when I was old enough, I was like, I know how to do that. Yes. I can, like, when jobs would come up, I go, I can do that. I can do that. Every radio station I went to, I was like, I already know how to do that. They didn't have to teach me anything. Yes. Well, they did. Obviously, I had to get better.
Yes.
But I knew how to use all the systems. I understood a lot of what was going on.
Yes.
And same thing again. I just kept just pushing. And I remember I got paid my very first full-time job. I was on $32,000 a year. That was my salary.
And you were like, holy fuck.
Yes.
I'm making $1.
I was like, I thought I'd packed up my Ford Laser, put my Doona in there. I put my TV in there, and I took all the 7 T-shirts I owned and 6 pairs of underwear, and I drove to Toowoomba, and I thought, I'm a
rich.
baller. I am on it. Then I started paying rent and shit and going out drinking and realized, oh my God, I don't have any money.
I need more money.
But, I sort of took the philosophy, like I just wanted to make the best stuff that I could. And I thought the money will come. I'll just do the best, like work the best I can. And then the money will hopefully follow that.
Every time I've seen somebody follow money first, they get disappointed.
Every time.
I always say that the art to me of living is being happy with what you have, with the situations that you are in. And because if you're an asshole with no money, you're going to be a fucking bigger asshole with money.
100%.
It's just going to be a bigger one, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a good person and money can be just bonus to your happiness, but as long as you just try to be humble enough and not get money get to your head. Because I employ a lot of people that at such a young age they'll be making stupid money, and first thing they think, I'm smarter than Bill Gates because you just made $1 today. And you still don't know how to wipe your ass properly.
Yeah.
So it's controlling that ego, and there's so much temptations right now. Because right now, if somebody wants to have job on the radio, they're thinking, you know what, I can just start my podcast channel tomorrow and I got the same job.
Yeah.
I was like, but go and make it successful.
And that's the
like
hardest
you made
part.
your career successful being on radio, right?
Yeah.
Because people are not, because you are not always a Mary from day one.
No.
Everything
you build up to that.
Everything builds up to that. And then you got to fight to hold it.
Yeah, correct. Well, the same thing even happened when I started doing online content.
Yes.
Like a lot of the videos you spend an hour, you spend a whole day making something and you're like, this is brilliant. This is the best. People are going to love this shit, right?
And there's like 4 people watch. There's like, what the fuck?
Correct, right?
I thought I was fun.
No one does it. But you have to then go again. You have to make another one. You have to keep going because eventually one pops and you do. The one that you think, I don't know if I really like that, but I'll just put it up. And then you wake up the next day and it's got 1 million views on it. And you're like, what's the thing? But, people see people online or on the radio and they think, oh, they're so lucky or whatever. But I had to do heaps of shitty radio jobs before that. I used to schedule music. I was off air doing music, which was just like data entry. I worked 6 days a week from the start of my career at 18 up until I think I was like 28 or 29. Like it was a 6 day a week job, that's just the way it is. People only see the outside part of it. They don't see what you've had to do to get there.
I always say when somebody says to me, oh, you're lucky. I was like, man, I ate so much shit throughout my life that I fucking smell like one today.
Of course.
They don't see. And there's the thing, if I'm driving one of my cars and kids, 18 or 19 years old, they stop next to me and they said, hey, what do you do for a living? I was like, to afford that. I was like, no. Don't worry about what I do for a living. You need to worry what you're going to do that you're going to be so fucking good at that you can be rewarded one day.
Yeah.
Because if I tell you, hey, I'm in real estate or property development or finance or whatever, doesn't mean you're going to be good at. Like if we all have different strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. But the key is discovering those.
Yeah.
What would you say the secret? What do you have learned? And you're still fucking young, by the way. Even your granddad. So technically you're older than me.
I get by the way, I'm a granddaddy. I tell everyone I'm granddaddy. So.
What are you granddad? You fucked. There's no other way. Everything you've been through in your life, what would you say the key is to happy life?
Look at your own, not others.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah. You will always find somebody who's got more than you. You'll always find someone who's got less than you all the time. And that was a big thing. And I'm not saying I've lived that perfectly before. Whenever you start comparing yourself to other people, is when it all goes to shit, because you also don't know. People look like they have everything. They could be miserable at home. You know what I mean?
On social media, we all look beautiful.
Of course, you don't know what their health is like, what their relationships are like.
But it looks perfect when you look at it.
Correct. So as soon as you start doing that in anything, your work, your relationships at home, your friendships, everything you have, as soon as you compare yourself to other people, we have that whole thing of, when I get this, I'll be happy. Oh, but you don't, because you think,
maybe for a minute.
Exactly. You go, when I get this house, I'll be happy. But you don't. You live in it for a bit, and then you go, oh, no, I want that, or I want this. So that's been my biggest thing.
But that's people chasing meaningless things.
Correct.
In
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think people forget to live in moments. You know what I mean? And moments are every day. You're talking to somebody could be more fulfilling than you buying whatever or having in your house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to young Maddie who's 18 years old or 16, still using somebody else's ID to go nightclubbing?
I would say...
Be more creative than my wife was when she was using ID.
Yes. There's not many things that happened that I would change, but my advice probably to my younger self would be don't listen to outside noise as much. So when I met my wife, she was 22 and I was 18, and she had a 3-year-old son who's now 23. And during that time, we were both young, and like any young relationships, it was a bit tumultuous at times and things like that. A lot of my friends and some family were like, this is bad, you shouldn't be with her, and she had the same thing, of course, because she's with an 18-year-old and she's got a kid, and people are like, what the hell are you doing? You need someone with their shit together.
And I'm thinking, I'm 46, I still don't have my shit
correct.
together.
When do you have it together? And a lot of times when you're younger, you let other people's opinions determine what you should do. It's not until you get older that you go, well, opinions are literally like assholes. Everyone's got one and you don't need to see them. That would be my advice. And it's what you were saying about being born at 90. Like, I would love to have the knowledge I have now. Like you said, I'm only 37, but I would love to have my 37-year-old knowledge and my 20-year-old body, because that would be sick. That would.
And you think to yourself, I would do so much stupid shit.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing. I think every young individual, when they're a certain age, when they understand things, they should just fucking go and find for somebody who's 90 years old.
Yeah.
And just speak to them. Ask them this question. Hey, John, who's 95 years old, can you tell me how fast did your life go by?
Yeah.
No 95 years old is going to tell you, it took me forever to get here.
Correct.
They're all going to say, son, I was 18 yesterday. I mean, we were 18 yesterday. Now you're 37. I'm 40 fucking 6. Time just...
Correct. It goes fast. And then like my dad passed away at 54. So he died, and I was only 21. And I always think about that too. I'm like, you always think your parents are old. When you're a kid, you think they're really old.
I remember when my dad was 45, I was like, oh my God.
I know, right? And I go, 54 is so young. Like, it's so young. And then that's like how quickly life can just disappear. You know what I mean? So that would be the other thing I say to young people. You don't know when your time's up. So don't worry about this bullshit.
The bullet that's going to kill you has already been fired.
Correct. Yeah.
When it's going to hit you in your forehead, who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean? And I think people put too much pressure on themselves. You can't get a job that you don't want. Who gives a fuck? Get another one till you get that one.
Yeah.
Or you work in a place where it's making miserable, quit today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are entitled to run your life your way.
Yeah.
But obviously, you're not going to have all the roses in your first job. You're going to be eating a little bit of shit. Yeah. I was talking to my dad yesterday on Saturday morning, and he said to me, I was telling him, Dad, I'm going to the Gold Coast, I'm buying 5 more blocks, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And he said, why? You can't even spend money that you guys are making now. I said, it's not about the money, Dad. I just fucking love the game.
You love doing it. Yeah.
And he said, oh, you guys should just travel and enjoy the world. And I said, no, Dad, I love it. And I said to him, plus, because we don't have kids, but my brother has 4.
Yeah.
And interesting, I said to him, when Lionel, my oldest nephew, he's 11 now, I said, when he's age 30, he's gonna inherit all of this, Dad. He's gonna inherit God knows how much money. Dad says, no. He needs to suffer first. That's an old school mentality.
Yeah.
He said, he needs to suffer first. I was like, fucking hell.
So what, are you going to set up some sort of army camp for him to earn it?
It's like he needs to suffer first. And all I'm thinking is my little nephew, I want him to have everything that I couldn't, you know what I mean? And Dad's like, no, you're going to turn him into a little freaking lazy shit.
Yeah.
So he needs to suffer first. And he actually comes and washes my cars every Saturday.
Oh, great.
It's starting to get work ethic. And I used to do, things like that, work with my dad on construction sites when I was the same age, just to start learning what life is all about. So you don't want your kids to be lazy. If you die today, what would be one thing you want people to take away from you? Besides money, you're going to give the fuckers. And they'd be like, oh, I'm glad you worked hard.
My biggest thing is if I died, I would want my kids to say that I was a good dad. That would be, for me, the most important thing. Above all else,
yes,
I would want my kids to think, they'll always think they didn't get enough time, but I would want them to be happy with the time.
Which is interesting stages kids go through.
Yeah.
When they love. When they're young, they love their parents and they look up to them and be their idols. But then when they're 16, 17, like, you boring fuck, I want to go fucking clubbing and you're not letting me, you know what I mean? You're bad dad. Yeah. And then when they go to the certain stage, then they become your best friends, you know what I mean? Because I remember even when I was 16 and mom and dad, being good mom and dad, if you go out, you got to be home by 9 o'clock. I was like, fuck, I want to come home 5 in the morning. I want to be the last one dancing on the fucking box in the nightclub. Yeah. And so you don't hate them, but you almost like, what do you know? You don't want them to be happy.
Yeah.
And then you start turning the page in your life and you see that, about how valuable parents are. And at this stage, my dad is 71 and mom is 66. I am a big sucker being present with parents.
Yeah.
Like you lost your dad at age 54. I don't know, but my dad is going to go.
Yeah.
And just like that, somebody or something you're taking for granted today, you might not have tomorrow.
Correct.
And then you'll be living, regrets. I always ask my uncle, what is one thing you regret in your life? And he said, one thing he always says, he said, not spending enough time with his father, which is my grandfather.
Yeah.
But that's something not like you can... I'm going to spend it again. It's gone.
Well, it's hard because you're setting up your own life when you get older. And I'm seeing it with my 23-year-old son now. He's married. He has a daughter and he's building his life. So they come over every Monday and we have dinner at our place, all the family all together. But then if we want to spend time with them, we have to work it in around them. You know what I mean? If you want to do extra. So if we are going to go on a holiday, we have to say, do you want to come on holiday with us? 9 times out of 10, I have to pay for it. But that's fine because that's what it is, because he's got his family now. And if I want to stay close to him, I've got to work at that.
So you just got to be careful. In 20 years, you might be granddad and you'll still be 57 and be like, fuck you. Yeah. There's like 18 of you and I'm not paying everybody's fucking holiday. So enjoy paying for everybody today.
I can see that. I can see that with my father-in-law because we've got 3 kids and my wife's sister's got 4 and her brother's got 4.
This year holidays in Toowoomba.
And that's what it's like. That's just like you go out, poor Pommy. Even now he's like, there's too many of you. And then of course people are married and then now the other grandkids are getting partners, all that kind of stuff. But that's the thing. You've got to I try not to put that pressure on him to be like, obviously you want them around as much as you can, but he's living his own life at the same time. And now he's got in-laws as well. So,
so life is gone.
Of course, you've got to it just changes, Yes. And at the same time, we've got an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old and their lives are so hectic trying to, do all this shit that they want to do, play football and dance.
But it is interesting, then when you get older, it's like, man, I feel like I'm losing my kids because they got their own family and they got to do their own shit. And it's like, man, I gave you fucking lives. You can spend time with me when I'm older, fuckers. It's not fair that I'm giving you all the education and everything else and then see ya.
Yeah. But that's how it goes.
That's right.
You did the same thing. You went and started your own life, and obviously you're back around now and you understand it. But when you're 19, you want to do your own thing. Go do you and whatever. So
and were you always living last 20 years most of the time was around Brisbane?
No, I've been everywhere. So I grew up in Gladstone, Central Queensland. Moved to Toowoomba. Was there for 9 months.
Toowoomba would be like a New York compared to Gladstone.
When I can remember driving in there.
You were like, holy fuck, there's a traffic light.
I was like, oh my God, they've got buildings over 4 stories here. I thought I was in the big smoke,
and then when it came to Brisbane, you were like,
holy shit.
New York.
So went to Toowoomba, was there for 9 months. Got a job on the Sunshine Coast. Was there for 12 months. Then I went to the Gold Coast for 2 years. Then I went to Sydney for 2 years, back to the Gold Coast for 2 years, Melbourne for 2 years, and then moved back here to Brisbane, coming up to 8 years. It'll be 8 years at the end of this year that I've been here. So
see, while you're a certain age, anybody young, I was like, you know what? Go and travel like Maddie did.
Yeah.
Experience 10 of those cities, you know what I mean? Because once you start getting your family, like now you can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? So there's a certain stage in your life where you can do certain things and you want to experience them. And I think you're experiencing all of those cities and different jobs and things probably made you who you are today.
100%. And you meet more people, get more connections. It was probably good for my relationship. Yes. When we moved to Sydney, it was just the 3 of us, me, my wife and Ethan. So we were on our own. We didn't know anybody. We had 0 friends. And we moved to this big city and it was like, the first time we'd ever lived out of Queensland.
Yes.
But it was great because it was either sink or swim, So we built our own life there. And then we knew once we could get through that, we could do anything. Didn't really matter.
Well, sometimes you got no choice but to build it.
Correct, yeah.
Maddie, it's been interesting talking to you. And
thank you, you too.
And I feel like I listened to you 3 on radio so many times, and you always wonder, people that you're listening to or watch somewhere, are they the same when you meet them in person?
Yeah.
I think you're crazy in person.
Well, wait till the microphones are off. You'll get a bit more.
Then I'm going to introduce you to Bill Me.
Yeah.
No, but it's interesting, because, I have met some what people would call celebrities, and you watch them on TV, and you kind of fell in love with the character, and then you see them in real life. I was like, oh fuck! It's like I wish I didn't meet you because I still have you as that, like a little, could be childhood hero or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
And they're not the same people. You forget they're acting.
And that's the thing, and I always say some celebrities, they should never expose their personal life because you love them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, 100%.
You love them from their character and and then in a personal life they're gonna pick their nose in public like fucking every other human does. But you are champion, and thank you so much for saying yes.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Now tell me, before we finish, tell me about your podcast.
So we launched it last week, and it's me and my wife. We called it Underaged Grandparents.
Yes.
Because I'm 37, she's 41. We have a 7-month-old granddaughter. And it's kind of it's a bit of our story of how that happened.
Yes.
And how our relationship kind of went from a younger age. But then we're also just sharing stories about our family and, stuff that's going on.
Is it only you two talking, or are you going to get guests who are also in the same situation like you guys?
We will have guests along the way. It's just us at the moment.
Yes.
I guess we'll get some guests because it's interesting seeing how many other people have started posting when we put content up online who are like, I think one lady said, she goes, I'm 54
And I'm a grandmom.
She goes, I'm 54, my husband's 44, and my son's 35. Or something like that.
And you're like, what the fuck is that? And then you look at your wife and it's like, we are normal. They're fucked.
Well, that's what you realize. Like, so there'll be some of those people. But we're just, telling stories of our lives. Like, there's one thing on the podcast which was about a fight that we had one night because the kids were playing up and my wife had been away on business. And I pretty much in uncertain terms told her to calm down.
Oh, this didn't go well.
Right?
This is the last episode and the first one.
And so we talked about that and how it was quite funny. She stormed off out of the house and, and whatever. So it's just that real life sort of stuff.
I think that's going back to the start of our conversation, everybody looks good on social media. Everybody's life looks fucking perfect. You know what I mean? And I can tell you that there's no human that exists that doesn't have shit that he's dealing with every single day.
Correct. So just talking about that sort of stuff. And
well, I will be listening to it.
Yeah.
And pleasure.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
You're a champion.
Thank you.